So it was Kilmacud Crokes 1-7, St. Jude's 1-6, and that was close. That was very, very close indeed, especially going down the home stretch. I mean, it was looking like it was going to be St. Jude's who were going to win their first ever Dublin Senior Football Championship. They were leading by 1-6 to 1-5 going into injury time, but 2 points in the dying minutes, a point from Aidan Jones and then a point from Callum Pearson literally won the game in the end for Kilmacud Crokes, and it puts them into the Leinster Club Senior Football Championship quarterfinals. They'll play Wolf Tones of Meath in the quarterfinals, and they win their first Dublin Senior Football Championship since 2018. A huge moment for Kilmacud Crokes, absolutely no doubt about it. And this is the match reaction where I discuss the game, give my thoughts on the game, break down the game after they have happened. So if you're new around here and you could subscribe, I would very much appreciate it. And if you could leave a like as well, that would be absolutely brilliant. The first half of this game wasn't brilliant, was it? It wasn't great at all. Let's be perfectly honest. It was horrendous, really. Like, you were kind of falling asleep watching the first half. I wasn't short of falling asleep, in all honesty. You were kind of, you were looking at it and you're thinking, could this be one of the first games, in a long time where we get to halftime with no score? It was looking like that. It really, really was, because like both sides were defensive to a certain degree. And it's, I don't really have an issue with defensive football. In all honesty, I've said that before. Defensive, different styles make fights, and that's what makes sports interesting. And different teams have different ways to win games. And I think, that's what makes it interesting. If everyone played the exact same way, it would get boring. Let's be perfectly honest. It would. But in this essence, it wasn't even so much about the defending that was annoying me. It was like both sides were getting into good attacking positions and they just weren't taking the opportunities. It wasn't like there was poor shooting on display or uncharacteristic errors. I mean, there were a few uncharacteristic errors here or there, but neither side just wanted to take that chance or take that opportunity. And it seemed like both sides were more going for goals in the first half rather than just taking the points. Obviously, Darragh Mullen had that early chance for Kilmacud Crokes. He forced the save of Paul Copeland. That was obviously a very well taken save, and it was a big opportunity quite early on. Maybe if Darragh Mullen had scored that goal, maybe the outcome of Kilmacud Crokes went on to win anyways, but maybe it wouldn't have been as close as what it was, and maybe the flow of the game would have changed. Maybe you feel like if that goal had gone in, it would have opened up the game a bit more. But Judes had the lion's share of possession as expected. They won the midfield battle in the first half, which was something we discussed quite heavily in the preview of the game. Obviously, Pat Spillane in there. And Colin Murphy was absolutely brilliant. He was probably my man of the match up until the final 10 to 15 minutes or so, when Kilmacud Crokes really started to get a hold on the game and started to, I suppose, outwork St. Jude's in the midfield and started to force a lot of turnovers in around there as well. But Colin Murphy was very impressive in the first half. He caught a lot of high balls and he was absolutely brilliant in that first half. But it would have to be said that, for St. Jude's, they obviously got that goal opportunity. They got that goal right at the end of the first half. Thank God, because we were wondering, were we going to get anything in the first half at all? And even the referee, I think, was falling asleep because the water break wasn't until 20 minutes. I think the referee even forgot what was going on in the game, in all honesty. Yeah, it was a goal. Kevin McManaman, that trademark shimmy, I think he might want to start trademarking that now at this stage. He offloaded the ball into Alan Connolly, who put the ball to the right-hand side of the goalkeeper into the bottom corner, or top left-hand corner, I should say. Very well taken goal. And from there, Judes had the initiative at that point. Paul Mannion kicked the point. And see, that was the thing. A goal just opened up the game. Suddenly, Kilmacud started taking more risks, taking more chances. And Paul Mannion, kicked the point from about 30 meters or so. He started taking those chances that were sort of coming his way. And St. Jude's obviously hit another point after that as well. 1-1 to 1 point at half time. Not particularly brilliant. And I understand a lot of people will say, oh, well, the conditions in November is probably the reason why the game, the quality wasn't there. But personally, I don't buy that. In all honesty, this has been played in Parnell Park. Probably one of the best surfaces, one of the best grounds in the country in terms of where you could play a county final. I watched Blessington versus Mullinachta earlier. Thought it was a cracking game. Nave Martin scored 217 today in the Leinster Club Senior Football Championship. So, the conditions, fair enough, they play a part and whatnot. But I do think ultimately both sides just didn't want to take risks. Both sides didn't want to take chances. Both sides a little bit too defensive. And in the second half, like at the start, St. Jude started to kick a few more points. Alan Connolly chipped away with another point. David Mannix started to come more into the game. He started kicking a couple of frees. And you were feeling like surely St. Jude's, this is going to be their year. This is going to be their moment. Kilmacud Crokes didn't look like they were at the races at all. Paul Mannion kicked a couple of points here and there, but they weren't getting anything at all from any of their other forwards. They were struggling in the midfield, uncharacteristic errors as well, like picking the ball up off the ground and, kicking the ball out over the sideline and whatnot. But really, from about, I'd say after the water break, the second water break, Kilmacud Crokes started to really turn the game on its head. And it was definitely the substitutes, in my opinion, that made a big difference. Callum Pearson and Aidan Jones. And they pushed up more on Jude's kickouts. They started to overturn them consistently going into, I suppose, the last 10 to 15 minutes. And they just started to find the right moments and started to kick the points in the right moments as well. I felt like Jude's kind of threw it away to a certain extent as well. Like they needed to hold possession a bit more, I felt, in the second half. They started rushing opportunities, getting forward, rushing the ball, and they got themselves into good positions. Pat Spillane had a half kind of goal chance that, he could have played, he could have, hand passed it to his left or maybe even taken a point. But they just needed to hold the ball and be a bit more, I suppose, patient in possession and try and slow the game down. And maybe that lack of experience in these kind of games probably, I suppose, told its difference. And Kilmacud Crokes, once again, like in a similar fashion to the Hurlers, they kept themselves in the game. They chipped away with a couple of points. Cian O'Connor gets that goal. That was a brilliant goal as well, taking it away from his man and then, slotting it into the corner from a difficult angle as well, it must be said. And Judes responded brilliantly after that, like David Mannix hit probably one of the points of the game out by the sideline from a free. And you were thinking, surely Judes are going to go and win this one. They hit another point after that from Coakley. But again, Kilmacud just found the answers, and Jude's a little bit wasteful in possession in the closing minutes, and Callum Pearson, really, really clever point from the sideline, tough angle, lot on the line, last kick of the game in many ways, and that was impressive stuff. Sharon Hegarty says St. Jude's were poor in the second half. They definitely didn't play to their potential. They didn't play. I mean, they weren't particularly great in the first half either. I thought they were better. Like in the third quarter, I thought they were impressive. But it was in that final 10 to 15 minutes that they struggled to really close out the game. And I think that was probably the big difference in the end. And Kilmacud Crokes just had a bit more options coming off the bench. And Paul Mannion obviously was more and more involved as the game went on as well. Aaron Cleary says, did you watch the Easons game? I didn't, to be honest, mate. But I do hear that Glen won that game. It was a very close game, wasn't it? There was only a point in the difference. We will be discussing that game and all the other club games in tomorrow's club review show. So stay tuned for that. That'll be out tomorrow at some stage. But the day belongs to Kilmacud Crokes. They were favourites for the All-Ireland before a ball was kicked, and they were very close to losing this game. Probably still going to be favourites, but I mean, I don't know. I think the club championship is wide open. I really do. I think there's a whole host of teams that could potentially win it. Naomh Martin kicked up a huge score in a game against the Carlow champions Rathvilly earlier today. They could potentially go all the way in Leinster and end up playing Kilmacud in a final. I don't know. I think it's going to be very open. You've seen Blessington beat Mullinjacta earlier as well, which was a huge shock. So it's very open. And I think there's a whole host of teams that could potentially win it. I really do. Mount Belly, Moyloch, just about squeezed past Ballinamore, Sean O'Heslin's as well in Connacht. So, it's very, very open. There's a lot of different teams that could win it. But for Kilmacud, they'll enjoy this victory. And a couple of weeks now before they play their Leinster Club Senior Football Championship quarter-final against Wolf Tones of Meath, which should make for an interesting game. And, big win for Kilmacud Crokes. Harsh on St. Jude's, heartbreak in many ways, minutes away from winning their first county title. In a similar fashion to Nafina as well in the hurling last week. But it was Kilmacud who used their experience and the players that they had, their bench as well, to make a massive difference. And huge victory for them as they march on into the All-Ireland series. So, cheers anyone who tuned into the live stream, left any comments or liked the video and subscribed. If you could, I'd appreciate it. If you're new, if you're already subscribed, you are in fact a legend. So I do very much appreciate it. Stay tuned for the club review show. That'll be out tomorrow. We'll be discussing Blessington's win over Mullinjacta, all the other big club games as well. Glen's win over St. Eunan's. You had wins also for Naomh Martin and for Naas. and also for Tirlestran and Mount Ballymoylock, as well as some other county finals, Lockmore Castleiney winning the Tipperary Senior Football Championship, and of course some of the games over in Kerry. So stay tuned for that. My name is Aaron. I'll see you all in the next one.